Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Battles of Americans of War with Bang and Dang. Got another 3 battles here for you today.
Who taught you English?
We've got.
We have.
We got. Sorry, I'm not a grammar bitch. We got another 3 battles for you here today as we going into December. We actually got 2 more battles after this.
We actually have 2 more battles.
That end 1863, but couldn't fit it in this one because one of them's a really long one and the other one's not. This is already going to be 30 minutes or plus, so I got to save those for next time. Probably going to do Breaking 1864 as well on the next episode. But before that, go check out our YouTube at Bang Dang Network. You see shorts, clips, full podcast episodes, as well as our exclusive Dart League. And if you're listening on the old podcast apps such as Spotify or Apple, give us a review. And yeah, listen to all of our other shows too on Bang Dang Network. With that, we got the Battle of Mine Run, Ringgold Gap, and Fort Sanders. One of these, the Ringgold Gap, is a continuation from last week's Lookout Mountain and Missionary Ridge episode. And then we got some Tennessee happenings and some Virginia's happenings. So quite Knoxville. And old George Meade at the Battle of Mine Run right now on part of the Mine Run campaign from November 27th to December 2nd. Old George Meade screwed up a chance to cripple Lee's army.
I mean, it's a common theme in this war.
Before winter quarters.
Common theme in this war with the Union. They don't like to pursue.
The old campaign of the Mine Run campaign was conducted in Orange County, Virginia. And after the Battle of Gettysburg in July, Confederate General Robert E. Lee and his command retreated back across the Potomac into Virginia. Union Commander Major General George G. Meade was widely criticized for failing to pursue aggressively and defeat Lee's army. Meade planned a new offensive in Virginia for the fall. His first attempt was a series of inconclusive duels and maneuvers in October and November known as the Bristow Campaign. Wow. Yeah, he failed big time. Yeah. Everybody failed up until this point against Lee, so that's why you got to bring in the big guy coming in the spring of 1864.
Well, they really didn't fail with Gettysburg and Vicksburg, though.
Failed to follow and destroy.
That's true.
Seek and destroy didn't.
Right. Late November, General Meade attempted to steal a march through the wilderness of Spotsylvania and strike the right flank of the old rebel army south of the Rapidan River. Meade had intelligence reports that Lee's army, half the size of Meade's army of the Potomac, actually 48,000 to Meade's 81,000, was split in 2 and separated by Clark's Mountain, with the 2 flanks anchored at Mine Run and Liberty Mills, over 30 miles apart.
Damn.
His plan was to cross the Rapidan at points beyond Major General Jeb Stuart's cavalry screen, overwhelm the right flank, which was Lieutenant General Richard Ewell's 2nd Corps, and then follow up with the remainder with Lieutenant General A.P. Hill's 3rd Corps. There were some big guys you're trying to do there, bud.
Yes, they are. Unlike Major General Joseph Hooker's plan in the Chancellorsville campaign earlier that year, on essentially the same ground, Meade planned no diversions. He intended a lightning strike with his entire army. Damn, he said I'm bringing everybody. The army marched on November 25th and got off to a good start, aided by fog on Clark's Mountain, which screened his movements from Confederate Lookout.
Right.
However, Major General William H. French's 3rd Corps got mirrored in fording the river at Jacobs Ford, causing traffic jams when they moved their artillery to Germanna Ford, where other units were attempting to cross. I mean, that happens. Yep. It's like in Oregon Trail, man. You gotta pick how you're gonna cross this ford wisely.
Speed had escaped Meade, who was furious with French, and this allowed Lee time to react. Lee ordered Major General...
It's not French's fault that the river fucking sucked.
Right. Lee ordered Major General Jubal Early, in temporary command of Ewell's 2nd Corps, to march east on the Orange Turnpike to Locust Grove, where Early's men began skirmishing with advanced Union elements. Major General Edward Allegheny Johnson's division was marching along the Raccoon Ford Road to join Early when the head of General French's 3rd Corps made contact in the heavy wooden terrain along the Widow Morse Road. They actually name it after these people. It's a widow. That's the Widow Morse. She lives down that road, right?
Well, it could be the only house.
Think so? About Raccoon Ford Road. There's a raccoon and a broke down Ford.
Or there's a Ford
with the raccoon.
With raccoons all around, right? Maybe I don't know.
Like it. Johnson turned his division about and ordered what can only be described as a reckless double envelopment assault against
reckless
against a mostly unseen enemy of the unknown strength throwing his 5,500 men against French and John Sedgwick's 6th Corps, who had combined 32,000 men. Johnson, what are you doing?
Wow. It was about 3:45 to 4 p.m. Johnson's assault fell apart quickly on their left.
Bet it did.
Where Stuart lost control of his brigade and quickly bogged down in the middle, which was the Stonewall Brigade, and on the right, which was Stafford and Jones, but was strong enough to slow down the Union advance until nightfall, when Johnson left the field on his own accord, retreating with the rest of the army behind the west behind the Mine Run Creek.
Okay.
The actual fighting consumed less than 2.5 hours. And 2.5 hours? Who the fuck says it like that?
Right.
And the losses were heavy. Johnson lost nearly 550 men, or 10% of his strength. French's score was about 950 from all causes. That's not very heavy for him.
No, not at all.
The Battle of Payne's Farm was short, bloody, and important, though.
Johnson's attack put French and his 3rd Corps back on its heels, slowed the advance, and saved Lee's army once again. If Johnson had cleared the Whittle-Morris Road before the arrival of French and Sedgwick, or had been driven away in defeat, the 32,000 Federals would have marched behind Lee's left flank and into his rear. Ooh, that would have torn him apart. After dark, Lee withdrew to prepared field fortifications along Mine Run. The next day, the old Union Army closed down the Confederate position. Meade planned a heavy artillery bombardment, followed by Major General Gouverneur Warren's 2nd Corps attack in the south, and then Major General John Sedgwick's 6th Corps in the north an hour later. Lee, what do you got, bud?
Well, he planned an assault for December 2nd, Lee did, that would have exploited the dangling left flank of the Union line, discovered the previous day by Major General Wade Hampton's cavalry. Although the Union bombardment began on schedule, the major attack did not materialize. Meade concluded that the Confederate line was too strong to attack, although Warren is credited with getting the attack canceled. And retired during the night of December 1st to 2nd, ending the fall campaign. Lee was chagrined to find that he had no one left in his front to attack. He said, where'd they go?
What the hell?
Damn.
Man, I really need to make myself feel better about Gettysburg.
All right.
The Army of the Potomac went into winter quarter at Brandy Station, Virginia. And they're going to stay in Virginia. Mine Run had been Meade's final opportunity to plan a strategic offensive before the arrival of Ulysses S. Grant as the General-in-Chief the following spring. General Lee also regretted the inconclusive results. He was quoted as saying, "I'm too old to command this army. We never should have permitted those people to get away." Confederate hopes of repeating their Chancellorsville triumph had been dashed.
Sure had. The Mine Run campaign was Meade's last and failed attempt in 1863 to destroy Lee's Army of Northern Virginia before winter halted military operations. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote the 1863 poem Christmas Bells, which became the carol I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, in response to learning of his son Charles Appleton Longfellow being severely wounded in the battle.
Attorney, historian, and publisher Theodore Savis, together with Paul Sacra of Richmond, set out to locate and map the Payne's Farm battlefield in the early 1990s. They're like, let's go map this shit out. And I was like, I'm down. Savis believed that public articles and books had incorrectly located the fighting area and was determined to test this theory. Armed with extensive primary sources and battle reports, he and Sacra located what he believed was the field, and with the permission from several landowners, used metal detectors to prove it. Why not? Why would you say no?
All right. Within a couple of days, they had unearthed hundreds of artifacts, including bullets, a ramrod, bayonet socket, a partial harmonica, belt buckles, buttons, and much more.
That's badass.
Savas drew maps of the field and the general location of the artifacts and delivered them to the Association for the Preservation of Civil War Sites and its director, A. Wilson Green, in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Green, who had no idea the field was in such pristine condition, was excited by the find and affirmed its importance. Saving land was a slow process for a variety of reasons, including the fact that the majority landowner wanted to develop the land. Of course.
Yeah, you assholes. At that very point, Savis and Sacra presented him with proof that the land contained at least one mass grave.
I can't do nothing now.
Nope. Which they had not detected or recovered anything from. And that to develop it would be a travesty. I don't think they can. They have to get it all removed first. The Civil War Trust and its partners later acquired and preserved 690 acres of the battlefield. The battlefield today features a wooded mile and a half interpretive trail with historical wayside markers. It is located on Virginia Highway 611, across from the Zoar Baptist Church, about 2 miles north of the Locust Grove. I'd like to walk that trail. It would be pretty fun.
It's going to bring us to the Battle of Ringgold Gap. It's going to be a continuation of the old last episode. Fought November 27th, 1863, outside the town of Ringgold, Georgia. Look at Georgia getting in on the action.
Yeah,
huh?
finally, right?
The disastrous Confederate rout at Battle of Missionary Ridge on November 25th forced the Army of Tennessee to retreat into northwest Georgia. November 26th, the Army made its way south towards Dalton to allow time for his artillery and wagon trains to safely pass through the gap. Confederate General Braxton Bragg sent Patrick Cleburne's unit of 4,157 men to defend it from the Union Army.
All right. While Claiborne expressed doubt he could defend the gap adequately with a single division, General Bragg refused to send any further troops to assist Claiborne. Claiborne and his men proceeded south and reached Ringgold around 10 p.m. After crossing through the East Chickamauga Creek, Claiborne's army made camp in the mountain pass known as the Ringgold Gap. All accounts of the Union received about Bragg's army suggested a hasty and unorganized retreat following the Battle of the Missionary Ridge. The Union commander at Chattanooga, Ulysses Grant, had ordered a pursuit of the retreating Confederate army, which Meade should have done, to Lee, on the morning of 26th of November 1863. But confusion over the orders prevented the Union forces from getting an early start.
What? When did they say?
What do you mean pursue? Can you use that in a sentence?
Before or after breakfast?
Jeez. General Joseph Hooker was given the command of divisions from the 4th, the 11th, the 12th, and the 15th Corps and sent to cut off the Western Atlantic Railroad in pursuit of the Confederate rear guard. However, when the Union forces arrived, they found that the Confederates had burned the bridges over Chickamauga Creek, clearly. Having finally reached Ringgold Gap around 10 p.m., at the same time, huh? Hooker halted 2.5 miles from the Confederate Army during the night of November 26th to the 27th. Look at them, they're right at the same time. Wow.
Upon the Confederate Army's arrival at Ringgold Gap, Claiborne deployed his men to the 3 strategic locations, one at Taylor's Ridge, one at White Oak Mountain, and the other one within the Gap itself. To the south, 3 Alabama regiments were stationed in the woods of Taylor's Ridge under the leadership of Major Frederick Ashford. Brigadier General Mark Perrin Lowry and Lucius Polk's troops of the Confederate Reserve were sent to guard the passage at Taylor's Ridge. Further north, Brigadier General Hiram Granberry's Texas Brigade was sent to defend against attack from White Oak Mountain.
Now, to his right, Major William Taylor was stationed with members of the 17th, 18th, 24th, and 25th Texas Cavalry. Inside Ringgold Gap, Brigadier General Daniel Govan led 4 Arkansas divisions alongside Captain C.E. Talley of the 7th Texas.
Fantastic.
Claiborne's tactical position was completed with the placement of 2 cannons at the opening of the gap, along with a regiment under the leadership of Richard Goldthwait. Bobcat's great-grandpa.
Hey.
Right. Around 8 a.m. on the morning of November 27th, Hooker dispatched Major General Peter Osterhaus and his division to scout the area. While out, they encountered Claiborne's watchmen, who raced back to Ringgold Gap to inform Claiborne of their encounter and the impending battle. They're like, the Union is coming! The Union is coming!
Right. Well, old General Grant had the following forces available in the Battle of Ringgold Gap under the leadership of Joseph Hooker. He had the 2nd Division of the 12th Corps under Brigadier General John Geary, 1st Brigade under Colonel William Creighton, and Lieutenant Orrin Crane, consisting of the 7th Ohio, 66th Ohio, 28th Pennsylvania, and 147th Pennsylvania. 3rd Brigade under Colonel David Ireland, consisting of the 60th New York and the 149th New York. 1st Division of the 15th Corps under Brigadier General Peter Hoss. 1st Brigade under Brigadier General Charles Woodston. Brigadier General Charles Woods, consisting of 13th Illinois, 3rd Missouri, 12th Missouri, 29th Missouri, 31st Missouri, and the 76th Ohio. 2nd Brigade under Colonel James Williamson, consisting of 4th Iowa, 9th Iowa, and the 26th Iowa.
All right, well, meanwhile, Braxton Bragg's Army of the Tennessee had the following forces available in the battle under the leadership of Patrick Claiborne. Liddell's Brigade under Colonel Daniel Govan consisted of 8 Arkansas regiments, including the 2nd, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 13th, 15th, and 19th.
Fantastic.
Lowry's Brigade under Brigadier General Mark Lowry consisted of 3 Alabama regiments under Major Frederick Ashford and 3 Tennessee regiments. Cool. They don't, not important enough to get mentioned.
Nope.
Polk's Brigade under Brigadier General Lucius Polk consisting of the 1st Arkansas and 3 Tennessee regiments, including 2nd, 35th, and 48th.
Great.
Smith's Brigade under Colonel Hiram Granberry consisting of the 7th Texas under Captain Charles Talley and the Texas Cavalry under Major William Taylor. And Semple's Alabama Battery of the Artillery Battalion under Lieutenant Richard Goldthwait.
Fantastic. Look at that shit. Arriving at his lookout point from the depot, Hooker saw a small line of infantrymen and decided to deploy his forces into the gap without his artillery. Under the command of General Charles Woods, his brigade entered the gap, but driven back by Granberry's unit. Confederates held their fire until Union line was 50 yards away. Upon Claiborne's orders, Goldthwaite's men, he fired 3 shots from the disguised 12-pound Napoleon cannons. Ooh. While the Union was like, what the hell? While the rest of the Army of Tennessee exchanged fire with the Bluecoats.
Well, the Bluecoats, huh?
Nice.
Believing they could gain a tactical advantage, Wood sent the 13th Illinois right to seek shelter in the buildings of Job's farm. Job's like, what the fuck?
Right.
After another failed attempt against Claiborne's troops, Wood's troops were halted by gunfire from Taylor's Ridge and cannon fire from within the gap. To counter the opposition, Osterhaus sent the 76th Ohio and 4th Iowa to attack the Confederate forces on Taylor's Ridge. The initial volley disorganized Osterhaus's division, and his Union forces were unable to advance from their position for the remainder of the battle. John Gary's 12th Corps Division was the next to arrive around 10:40 a.m. He said, let me take a crack at it.
Right. Under command of David Ireland, one brigade again attacked the Confederate right, while another regiment attacked the gap. As they would move further into the gap, both forces were halted by heavy Confederate fire from Taylor's Ridge and White Oak Mountain. Simultaneously, William Creighton and Orrin Crane's 1st Brigade was sent to support Williamson's 2nd Brigade on White Oak Mountain. The brigade was driven back by Polk and Lowry's regiments, and Creighton was killed during an attempt to rally his men against the O-Rebs.
Creighton.
Got moited.
Poor guy. After holding his position for 5 hours, Claiborne received communications from Bragg around 12 p.m., notifying him that the Army had made it safely through the gap and he could begin his retreat.
Okay.
Leaving skirmishers along his front line to hide his withdrawal, he pulled back from the gap about 2 p.m. and burned the bridge on the eastern side of the gap.
Oh.
Grant arrived near the gap, and the scattered position of his army made him decide to return to Chattanooga. No further Union pursuit was organized.
Right. It's like, damn.
Like, they gone.
Claiborne lost 20 moited, 201 wounded during his battle. Union casualties, 509 murdered and wounded. Although Hooker was severely criticized for his conduct of battle by Union Assistant Secretary of War Dana and several of Hooker's men. Grant chose to retain Hooker temporarily, though. A small park in Ringgold Gap commemorates this battle. Monument to soldiers from New York who sustained heavy casualties stands near Tiger Creek at the Ringgold Water Treatment Plant. While a monument in honor of Major General Patrick Claiborne and his men is located in the park itself.
Well, I'll bet you that's not there no more.
The nearby Western Atlantic Depot, which is the Ringgold Depot, still shows scars from the damage it received from artillery fire during the battle. The Ringgold Gap battlefield was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in the year of 2011.
It's crazy that 150 years and they just now putting it on there.
Idiots.
Our last battle of the night, or day, or episode, whatever you want to call it, is going to be the Battle of Fort Sanders, and old Longstreet fails again. Let's just put it that way.
Man, this guy.
And it was the crucial engagement of the Knoxville campaign of the war fought in Knoxville on November 29, 1863. Confederacy had never had effective control of large areas of East Tennessee at this time, or ever. Slavery wasn't practiced as widely in East Tennessee as it was in other portions of the state.
Right.
This led to, unlike the rest of the state, pro-Union sentiment before and after the Battle of Fort Sumter. Because the few slaves there were in East Tennessee were household slaves for luxurious purposes. So servants.
Right.
Living the good life, probably. Actually get to sleep in a real bed and stuff.
They're getting paid.
Now, the East Tennesseans felt disconnected from the economic practice of plantation slavery.
Many East Tennesseans were classified as Yeoman farmers
Yeah, man.
and held a high spirit for the old Union.
Good for them.
In fact, Tennessee would furnish more volunteers for the Union than all other rebel states combined. The majority of these volunteers were from East Tennessee. Therefore, Union forces had little trouble from the local populace when Burnside occupied Knoxville in September of 1863. The Army had considerably more difficulty reaching Knoxville over the rugged, mountainous roads of the region.
Mountainous. My name is Edgar Mountainous.
Road.
Road. My name is Rugged Mountainous Road. I hail from East Tennessee.
The mountains of East Tennessee.
Union engineers commanded by Captain Orlando Poe built several fortifications in the form of bastion earthworks near Knoxville. One was Fort Sanders, just west of downtown Knoxville across the Creek Valley. Fort Sanders originally was Fort Loudon, and it was an earthen fort that spanned 17th between Laurel and Clinch and continued along Laurel and Clinch eastward to 16th Street. I'm guessing that's modern day.
Right.
It was named for Brigadier General William P. Sanders, mortally wounded in a skirmish outside of Knoxville on November 18, 1863. Just a couple weeks ago. Buddy.
All right.
The fort, a salient in the line of earthworks that surrounded three sides of the city, rose 70 feet
Oh, shit.
above the surrounding plateau and was protected by a ditch 12 feet wide, 8 feet deep.
Oh, man.
An almost vertical wall rose 15 feet above the ditch. Inside the fort were 12 cannons and 440 men of the 79th New York Infantry.
Sounds like a nice little place there.
Right.
As the old rebel army under General Braxton Bragg besieged Union forces at Chattanooga, a detachment under the command of Lieutenant General James Longstreet, a trusted subordinate of old Robert E. Lee, he was sent to Knoxville to prevent Burnside's Army of the Ohio from moving to support of Chattanooga. After Burnside escaped a trap at the Battle Campbell Station, his men took up defensive positions around Knoxville, and the siege of Knoxville
You
began.
guys want to siege Chattanooga?
Right.
I'm going to siege Knoxville.
Right, which that siege began on the 17th of November, 1863. Old General Longstreet General Longstreet yearning for a victory. He's still all beat up from shit. He's been getting beat up all the way to
Since Gettysburg.
and continuing west.
All right.
Where he goes.
East.
He's going west.
East. West. Well, south. Southwest.
Old Longstreet determined that Fort Sanders was the most appropriate place to attempt a breakthrough of the Union defenses.
Yeah, he initially planned an assault November 20th, but chose to delay while he received reinforcements. His eventual assault was conducted by 3 infantry brigades under Brigadier General Benjamin Humphreys, Brigadier General Good Bryan, he is a good Bryan, and Colonel Solon Ruff. Solon Ruff. He commanded Wolford's Brigade. November 23rd, 1863, Longstreet's forces seized Cherokee Heights, which was a tall bluff south of the Holston River, which is now called the Tennessee River.
Oh.
From Knoxville. It was a tall bluff south of Knoxville, but only about 2,400 yards from Fort Sanders.
Ooh.
Wow.
Longstreet's original intent was to use artillery to soften up Fort Sanders in preparation for a frontal assault. However, at virtually the last minute, he changed the plan to surprise infantry assault at dawn, hoping that the benefits of surprise would outweigh those of a cannonade. Inexplicably, he squandered the element of surprise by deploying skirmishers forward hours before their
What
assault.
a moron. You can't surprise when you have guys already out.
So dumb. Although this movement placed them in very good positions for sharpshooting, it clearly revealed his plans to the old Union Army.
Clearly.
Idiots.
Well, the assault conducted November 29th was poorly planned and executed. Longstreet discounted the difficulties of the physical obstacles his infantrymen would face.
What is this guy thinking?
Well, he had witnessed through field glasses a Union soldier walking across the ditch and, not realizing that the man had walked across on a plank, believed the ditch was very shallow. Really, remember, guys, it's 8 feet.
Right.
He also believed that the steep walls could be negotiated by digging footholds rather than requiring scaling ladders, so he's going to dig under the wall.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Man, dude.
This dude's an idiot.
Is he like
He's got more dumb. I think Gettysburg, he's just like, fuck it.
Right.
He's trying hard to redeem himself and the Confederates, and he's just doing stupid things.
The Confederate Army moved to within 120 to 150 yards of the salient during the night of the freezing rain and snow and waited for the order to attack. Their attack at dawn has been described as cruel and gruesome by 19th century standards. They were initially confronted by a telegraph wire that had been strung between tree stumps at knee height. Possibly the first use of such wire entanglements in the Civil War. And many men were shot. As they tried to disentangle themselves.
I bet they were.
Man. When they reached the ditch, they found the vertical wall to be almost insurmountable, frozen and slippery.
Union soldiers rained fire into the assault, including musketry, canister, and artillery shells thrown as hand grenades. Holy shit. Jeez. Unable to dig footholds, men climbed upon each other's shoulders to attempt to reach the top.
Oh, wow.
A succession of color bearers was shot down as they planted their flags on the fort. For a brief time, 3 flags reached the top, those of the 16th Georgia, 13th Mississippi, and 17th Mississippi. Okay.
So stupid. Longstreet undertook his Knoxville expedition, which he came to realize was far too soon, to divert Union troops from Chattanooga and to get away from General Braxton Bragg, with whom he was engaged in a bitter feud.
He said, I just need to get away.
Maybe, yeah, because his heart ain't in it, man. You got to have your heart in it.
Braxton Bragg didn't like the guy.
Longstreet, I don't think Bragg liked Lee.
Well, he probably thought he should be
Right.
over there commanding the big army.
Longstreet reevaluated what was supposed to be a surprise attack and saw it was poorly planned and executed.
By me.
Based on comparative casualties, it was one of the most lopsided Union victories of the war. From the beginning of the artillery bombardment until the Confederates broke and retreated. The attack on Fort Sanders lasted about 40 minutes too long.
Jeez. About 20 minutes, half of the 40 minutes clearly, were spent in the struggle for control of the parapet. Jeez. In the brief period of 20 minutes of attacking, General Burnside's chief engineer, Poe, wrote that he was unaware in the annals of military history where a storming party was so nearly annihilated. Jeez. The Confederate troops sustained 813 casualties, 129 killed, 458 wounded, and 226 missing.
Ridiculous.
Federal losses inside Fort Sanders amounted only to about 20 men, while another 30 were killed and injured outside the fort by Confederate artillery. I mean, still, it's a lot. While Lieutenant Benjamin reported the Union losses in the forts as 5 killed and 8 wounded, significantly less than their defeated opponent. Jeez. About 250 prisoners and 3 flags fell into Union hands.
No, not the flags. Right. I can take the prisoners, but flags? Jeez. Can't have that. Longstreet arranged to withdraw. Burnside sent a flag of truce to allow him to recover his dead and wounded from the field. It was a humanitarian gesture, much appreciated by the OREBs. They all tipped their head.
Yeah, much obliged.
The Union details pulled the dead out on blankets, carried them to a point halfway across no man's land for delivery to the old rebels. Look at that shit, man. It's fantastic. Many of the bodies had been stiffened by this time. Damn it, that quick?
It was freezing.
Right. They leaned them up against the side of a blood-stained ditch.
They did. They recovered 96 bodies, mostly from inside the ditch, but also from the ground within several yards of the bastion.
So stupid.
Federals delivered slightly more than that of number of wounded to the Confederates for a total of 197.
So dumb, man.
The Confederates identified the bodies of several high-ranking officers, such as Solon Ruff.
Oh, no. Solon Ruff?
Solon Ruff.
Oh, wow.
Solon Ruff and Kennan McElroy. On the afternoon of November 29th, Longstreet changed his mind about disengaging from the Federals at Knoxville when dispatches arrived from Joseph Wheeler. The cavalry general had reached Ringgold, Georgia, November 25th while making his way back to the Army of Tennessee, only to find that Bragg had been severely beaten at Chattanooga.
Oh, no.
Everything's falling apart.
Bragg asked him to inform Longstreet of the defeat and let him know to rejoin the Army of Tennessee at Dalton or to go back to Virginia if it was not possible.
Longstreet's like, I'm going back to Virginia, dude.
That's not possible. He walks by him on his way.
Bye.
4th of December, Longstreet withdrew from Knoxville and headed toward Rogersville, 65 miles to the northeast. Longstreet's failure to take Knoxville scuttled his purpose, and the Knoxville campaign was essentially over, with the city remaining in federal hands for the remainder of the war. This Confederate defeat, plus the loss of the Battle of Chattanooga on the 25th of November, put much of East Tennessee in the old Bluecoats.
Oh, man. The Fort Sanders area became the site of many Victorian homes that were built approximately 3 decades later. Okay. Several, especially those located on the uphill sides of the streets, are most impressive. Some have been restored in recent decades. Who gives a shit?
Cool.
Well, a few were incorporated into the grounds of the 1982 World's Fair. Awesome. Many more have been divided into apartments or rented out to University of Tennessee students.
Okay, thank you.
1919, construction of Fort Sanders Regional Medical Center began on the section of the battlefield, uncovering various artifacts from the battle during construction. Okay.
And you put a medical center on top of a battlefield, I bet you that place is haunted.
Oh, what are you going to do, man?
The author, James Agee, was from this area. The exteriors for the motion picture version of All the Way Home, they were shot outside one of the more palatial homes, which was since burned. Agee's novel, A Death in the Family, ends with Agee, who's Rufus in the novel, and his uncle conversing while looking out over the ruins of Fort Sanders. Some 2 paragraphs from the most worthless paragraphs I've ever heard in my life. Civil War, Truss and his partners have acquired and preserved 69 acres of the battlefield.
All right.
Longstreet. Something ain't right with this guy.
No.
Something ain't right with this
Something
guy.
not right with this guy.
And Bragg's a bitch.
Yeah, Bragg's a bitch Bragg. Bitch, Braxton Bragg, triple B, baby. Why is he a bitch?
Because he fails to get along with his major general.
Oh, no. Fuck him. Fuck them both.
Right.
That's going to do it for this episode. Next week, we'll have the Battle of Bain Station. That's also in Tennessee. Longstreet's going to attack cavalry led by James Shackelford. And that was on December 14th, 159 years ago, guys.
Oh, shit.
5,000 to 12,000. That's what the...
Longstreet overshadowed him, huh?
That's a decent little one.
Good little battle.
And then we'll wrap up the year of 1863 with the Battle of Mossy Creek, also in Tennessee.
All the information on the D battle. We don't even get that much on the A.
Right.
Oh, there, that's a D.
And then the Battle of Mossy Creek is going to wrap up 1863, and that'll take us into probably another battle, start off of 1864 at the, well, it depends on how long it is, but we're also in Tennessee for the first battle of the year, which is the Battle of Dandridge. And we got Longstreet at it again, so Longstreet getting some time in here, huh? they're fighting in Virginia here. So why did the Potomac and Lee's army take off winter?
Right.
What the hell?
That make no sense.
What the hell's going on here? Although,
Hand bad of Walker tended to
right. That's what I just said.
That's March.
Well, right, still cold. But Confederates do ring off a couple in a row here coming up in February, March.
But
1864. It's a little red mixed in there. It's going to be a back and forth year, it looks like here. And that'll do it for us for this episode. Remember, YouTube at Bang Dang Network. Give us a subscription. And also Apple, Spotify. Review us. And we'll be back for Bean Station and Mossy Creek. And most likely the Battle of Dandridge. All three in Tennessee. We'll see you next week for the Mother Music Industry.